At some point over the last few weeks, I realized that I have a lot of work to do still on overcoming my fear of embarrassing myself and my fear of social situations. It's been no secret that for the past couple years, I've lived in a place where there isn't a lot of sense of community. I have more friends that live in London and in Romania than I have here in Seattle, where I've tried to make friends. And I think not having those frequent social interactions has meant that I have this image of myself as someone that doesn't know how to interact with people anymore. In real life, if you ever see me out and about, I'm actually pretty soft-spoken. I'm very shy. And it's gotten to a point where I feel like if I don't resolve this, I'm going to be missing out on certain career opportunities. Because, for instance, I've had opportunities to go on podcasts and interviews, and I've turned them down because I don't want to embarrass myself. I decided I've had enough of this. I'm going on a mission to embarrass myself. I'm tired of being so hypervigilant around people and assuming that they want to hurt me. I want to lean more into trusting people, into trusting that they have my best intentions at heart, and just putting myself out there and letting the bricks fall wherever they may. Is that the expression? Letting the cards fall as they may? What is it? What's the expression? So the first thing I did when I set out on this mission was I created an exposure hierarchy of things that I feel would be least to most embarrassing to do. The least embarrassing thing that still sometimes makes me a little bit nervous is just saying hello to everyone on a walk or on a hike. So I rated that as a 1 out of 5 in terms of embarrassingness. And so I decided tomorrow on my hike, I'm going to go say hi to every single person, even people that don't seem like they want to say hi to me first. So let's go be embarrassing. Hello.
Hi, good morning.
I think they were Russian. We should have said "Привет"
Oh,
or
yeah. It's not for me.
"Здравствуйте."
Yeah.
Say it.
No.
Say
This
please
is your
try.
exercise, not mine.
Здравствуйте. Hello. Hello.
Good job. Very proud moment.
Why?
Breaking your fear.
Are you joking?
No. Maybe a little.
It's not that big a fear. It's just
It's just the
starting.
first step.
It's the first lowest thing on the hierarchy.
What's next?
I'm wearing heels in Seattle out for dinner.
Wearing heels on a hike? Just girly things?
No. Yeah, in Seattle because people like to dress pretty frumpy, so it'd be unusual to look cute. So the very first thing on my embarrassment hierarchy was to say hello to every single person, even people that didn't seem to want to say hello to me. I learned 2 things from this. First thing I learned is that most people did say hello, so a lot of my fears around people not responding to me were unfounded. But even for the people that didn't say hello to me back, I realized that it wasn't as bad as I was making it out to be in my head. When you set out with the intention of, okay, I'm going to do this thing no matter what the consequence doesn't seem so bad. And I tried to kind of reframe it in my head. I tried to think about it not being so personal, because you never know. Like, one family was, for instance, Russian, and so I don't know if they even really spoke English. Of course, they probably know how to say hello, but maybe they just don't feel comfortable speaking to somebody else in English. Or maybe somebody didn't hear me. Maybe they have headphones. Maybe they don't feel comfortable speaking to strangers. I tried to reframe rejection in a way that wasn't just the worst case scenario and wasn't personal, because the fact of the matter is that it's not personal. It's not doing anything wrong just saying hello to somebody. And so if the other person's going to be rude or just doesn't want to respond to you for whatever reason, that's their issue, not yours. The third thing on my exposure hierarchy is to film a YouTube video standing. Hello, I'm standing now. It actually feels a lot more natural than I would have expected. Maybe if I step back, it'll be a little bit more awkward. Oh, nope, you can see my ring light. Not gonna do that. Okay, I'm just gonna stand here for now. This is actually not so bad. You know, I felt like it would be more like giving a speech or like a presentation, and I'm not a very like spontaneous person. I don't like move my body a lot when I speak publicly. It's different when I'm just like talking to the camera because there's not actually an audience, you know, like I'm in control of what goes into the video or not, or, you know, I can start over if I mess up on something. This is kind of nice. Like, I kind of like it. Maybe I should start recording like this instead from now on. Hold on, I want you guys to see this pretty flower decor. I'm gonna film the rest of the snippet standing. Now, the next couple things on my exposure hierarchy are to dress a little bit nicer than is socially appropriate to do. So in Seattle, people dress very, very casually. And so sometimes I want to, as a European person who has like a different culture around clothing, I want to dress in like heels, or I want to wear like a nice blouse or like a dress. And it's just, you know, people kind of give you a side eye in Seattle because in Seattle, it's more socially appropriate to wear something that looks like maybe you're going hiking than something that looks like you're going to a nice dinner. And also, I think I used to take a lot more risks with my clothing when I was a little bit younger. Like when I first started out this channel, I think the fact that, you know, I got hate comments for wearing like slight cleavage probably got in my head a little bit because I used to wear cleavage and now I just have this thought in my head that like if I have the tiniest bit of cleavage showing, that people are gonna accuse me of all sorts of stuff. But I was recently at an Ina concert. If you're familiar with Ina, she's like the biggest Romanian singer of all times. And I was wearing kind of like this bralette. And I was looking around and I was like, oh my God, I hope like this room full of Romanians doesn't judge me for wearing basically like a bralette. And then I realized, like, hold on, we're at an Ina concert. Most of these people probably know her music and love her music from, like, her first music videos where she was, like, showering in a bikini. So, like, they probably don't judge her for dressing that way, and they probably don't judge me for dressing that way. And it was kind of like this light bulb moment of, like, probably not as many people are judging you as you think they are, and even if they are, them, you know, like those are not the types of people that I want in my life. So the next task on my hierarchy is to go out for dinner in Seattle wearing a little bit of cleavage and high heels, which is one tall order. So when I got dressed up in Seattle, it was actually not weird at all. I had only like a baseline amount of social anxiety, not more than usual. Did I feel a little bit out of place? Yeah, a little bit, but honestly, I feel a little bit out of place even when I'm dressed completely to whatever the environment style is also. So doing this experiment made me realize that I should just wear whatever I want and just go with it, and that the sky isn't going to fall on me. My mind is going to create things to be insecure about if I'm out in public, no matter what. You know, the mind is very creative. It can come up with something no matter what. And so don't worry about it. Just truly wear what you want to wear and be yourself. And understand that like your mind is going to come up with things to feel embarrassed about no matter what. So you might as well be authentic while you're at it. And I also had a trip to Atlanta where there were a lot of different social events where I dressed exactly how I wanted to. I realized there was one dress that I had worn 2 years ago that I had felt completely comfortable wearing at a wedding. And now, 2 years later, I had somehow become a lot more stringent with what I allow myself to wear. And it felt a little bit strange wearing that out in public. And it just helped me realize, like, you know, over time, if you keep trying to be comfortable and to not embarrass yourself, your world gets smaller and smaller and you don't even realize it. By trying to not be perceived in a particular way, I became more and more fearful of being perceived in that way. So I wore, I think, some pretty cute outfits in Atlanta. I felt really good in them. And I also felt good about the fact that I was coming back to a point of authenticity with my sense of style. The next thing on my exposure hierarchy is to go for a walk in the neighborhood wearing my sun visor. I just bought a sun visor and I look like an astronaut in it. I bought it because I realized, you know, sunscreen is actually not that great. You know, a lot of the chemicals in it have been shown to be carcinogens. And so if I'm just like going for a walk and it's like low UV, I don't really want to put on sunscreen. I would rather wear a UV protective visor, but it looks so wild, you know, like it looks so weird and funny. And so I think that would be pretty embarrassing to do, to just like go for a walk in the neighborhood looking like I just came from the moon. I would rate this as maybe like a 3 out of 5 in terms of how embarrassing it is. So wearing the visor on a walk, this one was one of the more embarrassing ones. I will not lie to you. I felt like a cyborg or something. And I also realized, you know, culture plays a lot into what's considered embarrassing versus socially acceptable. Like, for instance, I believe in East Asia, people wear sun visors frequently because they're trying to protect their skin from UV damage. But out here, I've never seen anybody wear them. I've seen them maybe like a little bit on TikTok, but nobody out in the real world. And I think that also kind of helped me realize like, hey, what you're doing might be weird here, but it's not weird in this other part of the world. Which is basically just to say, you know, what's considered embarrassing is so subjective. Just do your thing, because what one person might think is weird, another person might think is completely normal. And again, you might as well just be authentic while you're at it. And you know, something else that I realized while I was wearing the sun visor is when people were coming up on the sidewalk, I was really nervous because I was like, I don't want them to think I'm some like weirdo, or that like, you know, they can't see my face and therefore they can't assess if I'm safe. But even with the sun visor, I wasn't sure if people were trying to avoid me or if people were staring on the sidewalk. And it made me realize if I'm not sure that they're doing that while I'm wearing something objectively kind of weird to wear, then they're most certainly not doing that when I'm just wearing normal clothes. And so it helped me put into perspective, okay, when you're just out in the real world, experiencing life, doing whatever, don't worry that people are going to harshly judge you for these things, because chances are you're really not doing anything that weird for them to judge you about. Up next, we got some more social exercises. I need to tell a long story in front of a group of people. So I'm going to Atlanta in about a week, and I'm going to have a lot of social opportunities to do this there, so that's what I'm going to do. So telling a long story in front of a group of people was something that accidentally happened in Atlanta. And I realized while I was already starting the story, I was like, oh, this is that thing from my embarrassment hierarchy. I didn't even go into the situation necessarily hoping to tell a story in front of a group of people, but it just naturally arose. And what really struck me was how I didn't really feel nervous about it. I felt comfortable. I mean, it was a group of people that I feel safe with, that I know for many years, that are like family friends. And so I am secure in the knowledge that they don't judge me, they accept me, they are safe to be around relationally. They're very nice people. So like, even if I were to do something terrible, I seriously doubt that they would be really mean about it. And I kind of surprised myself that I was able to tell an engaging story. I was able to evenly distribute my eye contact among them, which is sometimes a concern for me. I always want to make sure that I'm giving everybody equal eye contact. I was expressive, and I proved to myself that I can do this thing that for some reason in my head, I don't think I can do. And I don't understand what this incongruence is about. I have this image of myself in my head as somebody that's just incapable of interacting with people on like a group scale or speaking in front of people. And I've proven to myself time and time again that that's not the case. You know, in grad school, I would present in front of my class like 5 times a semester. I think grad school is the reason for this personal insecurity, because in the early stages of grad school, I really wanted to make a good impression. There was one professor in particular that made me kind of nervous, and I stumbled one time while participating. And after that happened, I went to a psychiatrist and I got a prescription for propranolol, which is a beta blocker that basically just blocks the physiological symptoms of nervousness when you're publicly speaking. And that helped me immensely to get through grad school. But now I'm at a point in my life where I'm like, I can't be dependent on this, not just because I don't really need it anymore, because I don't have to give 5 presentations per semester anymore, but also because I should be able to do this without it. I should go out into the real world and have a spontaneous interaction in front of a group of people without accounting for, oh my God, I need to take my propranolol 30 minutes before this. And I realized in that moment in Atlanta that I can do it. I just need to continue practicing. And then after that, the next thing on my embarrassing hierarchy is to be the first one to populate the dance floor. Basically, to be the first one to start dancing when nobody's dancing yet. So I will again try that in Atlanta at the social situations that I have coming up. So there was actually no opportunity to get on the dance floor in Atlanta. I had a friend that I was going to see that I thought, you know, we were going to have like a little bit of a dancey hangout, but she had to cancel. So you know, next time the situation arises, I'll make sure to get on the dance floor. Up next, my task is to film a vlog out in public. This one's pretty rough, pretty embarrassing, pretty embarrassing. I would rate this as like a 4 out of 5. I don't know how people do it. I admire people that can do it so much. But today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to go out and we're going to vlog. I'll be honest, I still haven't filmed a vlog in public, and I'm nervous too. I don't know what situation to do this in. To tell you the truth, I'm not even like a vlog type of person, you know, like to like hold up the phone and like speak to it while I'm doing something else. I feel like it kind of takes me out of the present moment. I would rather just film what's going on and then just compile it into like a montage and do a voiceover. So I'm not sure that this is really going to happen, but you know, in the future, if there's an opportunity to, I'll make sure to take it to just overcome this. Okay, here's where it's starting to get really hard. The next thing on my hierarchy is to film a Zoom interview with someone. So I have someone in mind that I think I'll reach out to. I'm so scared. Like, I just worry that I won't be able to ask the right questions, or that I'll seem too nervous, that I won't seem charismatic enough, that I'm gonna seem like socially anxious and people are gonna misinterpret that as me being unfriendly. Like, that's my biggest fear in life, that people will misinterpret my social anxiety, because I really want to be just like a warm, present, charismatic person. And sometimes the signs of anxiety can come off as being like aloof or cold. But I think if I can do it and just watch myself do it and prove to myself that I can do it, that would be like a constant reminder that I can do it. The next few I will most definitely not be able to do in the next few weeks for this vlog, but here they are. Go on YouTube Live. I'm really not a spontaneous person, guys, but I could see it maybe happening at some point. I don't know. Let me know what you would want to see on a YouTube Live, because like I can't be giving like one-on-one advice to people, so it can't be that. Film an in-person interview or podcast. I don't know. Maybe we'll get to it at some point. Maybe I'll get there. So those are the things on my hierarchy that I'm probably not going to get to for this vlog, but if I get to even like a 4 out of 5 embarrassing level, getting comfortable doing the other things, then I would see that as a success. So I have a little bit of a surprise here. I did reach out to not one, but 2 people for an interview to come on the channel. These are people whose viewpoints I really, really respect. They haven't replied yet. I won't be offended if they don't, but I'm just proud of myself for sending the emails. And like I said, I had this invitation to come on a really big podcast, and initially I was going to decline. And then the more I thought about it, the more it just didn't sit right with me that I was declining such a big opportunity because of psychological complexes that can be worked on and that can be overcome by actually doing the thing I'm afraid of. And so I responded and accepted. So I gave myself enough time to prepare for the interview, because obviously the stakes are very high. You know, if 1 million people see the video and I stumble, then that will be very embarrassing. But I'm sitting here and I'm like, why would that happen to me? Obviously I speak on camera here every week after week. So I'm really proud of myself, because I went for like one of the hardest things on my hierarchy, which is the whole reason why I did this video and took on this challenge in and of itself. And so if you have something that you're worried about that you feel like is holding you back, I would just recommend doing it, because it's the worst feeling in the world to see other people doing something that you know you could do if you just had a little practice with it, but you feel like you don't have the guts to do it. Just do it, man. Do it. You can't always feel like, oh man, I wish I could be able to do that when you see somebody else doing it. Just do it yourself. You'll get over your fear and you will overcome it. Final thoughts. I think the act of watching myself do these things on camera, you know, like actually filming it, like kind of vlog style, was very helpful, because like I keep saying, I have this self-image in my head of myself as someone that's incongruent with who I am in real life. I go out and I do these things, and then I come back home and in my head it's like, oh, I'm not the type of person that would do these things. So being able to visually see myself do these things was very challenging of those cognitive distortions. It was like, what do you mean you can't do these things? Look, you're doing them right now. Another takeaway that I took from this is that when you live your life seeking out opportunities to embarrass yourself, life gets so much easier. You know, it's all about your mindset. Do you go through life with the mindset of, let me avoid being embarrassed as much as possible, let me avoid any possible situations where I could be embarrassed? Or do you go through life from the mindset of, let me do as many embarrassing things as possible and we'll see what happens? Because chances are there's not going to be much of a difference in terms of how much you embarrass yourself in either mindset. But one mindset is very restricting and the other mindset is very liberating. And so I think I'm going to try to retain the sense of, let me be as embarrassing as I can when I move through the world, because I want to be free. I want to be free from the shackles of caring what other people think. And I think fear of being embarrassed really interconnects with fear of being judged or disliked and fear of being seen, perceived. I think a lot of times I can kind of feel a little bit overexposed when I'm out in public, even though like everybody's going about their day. They don't care about you that much. They're not looking at you. It's egocentric to think they do. But social anxiety is a little bit egocentric. It is a little bit like, oh my God, people are going to see this very minute thing that I'm doing and judge it and think the most catastrophic thing about it. So whatever you want to call it, fear of being seen, fear of being embarrassed, fear of being judged, it's all kind of the same. We're kind of talking about the same thing. And so I need to, in the future, continue to challenge myself to embarrass myself more, to actively be disliked, to say it with my chest, even if people dislike me, to not mind when I'm being perceived, to be comfortable in the knowledge that, yeah, I am being perceived right now in whatever way, and that is okay. And I think it also ties to hypervigilance too, because fear of being perceived is like, oh, somebody can see me, therefore they can attack me. I don't know this person, they could be a threat to me. And I think when you've experienced relationally challenging things in the past, you can be kind of hypervigilant, almost like paranoid in a way. Like when I walk down the street, I realize I like tense up when I realize somebody's coming down the same sidewalk. And I've been catching myself recently and thinking like, what is this about? You really think this middle-aged woman walking her dog is going to hurt you in some way? Actively reminding myself this person is probably not out to hurt you has helped me with all of the constructs that I'm talking about, being embarrassed, being disliked, being seen, all of it. Let me know what you thought of this challenge. I'd love to hear your own journey with this topic if you want to share in the comments, and I'll see you soon.